5, 15, 20, 20, 5, 25, 30, 30, 5, 30, 5, sold at $30 bill. That's one of the reasons ARS. But it's only a small one. It just means that we talk fast. It's another reason we're efficient. Which brings me to answering an unusual question I had from a business owner, an unusual question I had this week from a business owner who said, why do corporations and businesses hire you? And it got me to thinking. But in order to answer that question, the first thing I had to explain was, how do businesses operate in the United States? And they operate based on the sale, the production, and the transfer of assets. And when that stops, it costs people money. When a business is in transition, when a company closes, when they're building a new facility, for every day something is sitting in disuse, the company's not creating revenue. That's a huge problem. And for a small company, it can still be a huge problem with a different set of numbers. But when you talk about larger corporations, every day is millions of dollars as these assets sit and buildings sit in transition. One of the primary reasons we're hired as auction professionals is that the service we provide is as fast and efficient that still provides them an opportunity to have revenue with the sale of assets. Even with that said, many companies say your process is too long. It costs me $1 million a day every time every day my building is empty. So we aren't a fit for anyone, for everyone. So we aren't a fit for everyone. We're a fit for those that have time for an efficient process to be inserted in their transition, whether they're building a new facility or closing a facility permanently. No matter what they're doing, the speed of that production is the problem. And the efficiencies and the timeliness of the auction process is a great answer for them. The process doesn't take months, it takes weeks. And it involves an organized team, cataloging, preparing, marketing, selling, and removing in a very efficient process. Traditionally, this has taken months and up to years. You're dealing with millions of square feet and large properties. It can take years to close and dissolve that and sell the assets. We've done processes like that and done it in 60 and 90 days and literally taken 18 to 24 months off of a closing schedule that translates to companies not only in a monetary gain in the sale of the assets, but in the speed and the time they gain in the days that they save. It took me a while to get to his answer, but the answer was companies hire us because we're efficient. I'd love to tell you they love the auction chant and the excitement, but they're driven by dollars and they're driven by cents. And the dollars we make and the timeline we use makes sense for them to be using that as a tool. And that was the best answer I could give him.
Stabilization on this, by the way. Next.
In a good way?
In a good-
I mean, so that was my,
Beautiful. I was like,
did that make sense? That's the general reason that large corporations and companies, and small ones even, hire us. We're efficient. I'd like to say we're really nice guys, that helps, but that's just gravy on the cake. What were some questions you had?
So it's just not about getting the best price, is what I'm hearing.
No, in fact, the best price many times is the last thing they'll talk about. Right? The first thing they'll talk about is how long does it take and how much does it cost, right? because I think part of their process is weighing our relatively new thought process for these corporations into what they have traditionally done, right? And many corporations traditionally call someone to empty it, whether that be a scrap person or equipment dealer, and they can take 1 week or 3 weeks or 2 months, depends on how big it is, and it costs them X to get that done. Or they try to sell it themselves. And many times that's very effective for about half of what they have, right? So the first thing is just getting them on board with how we compare with what we do to what their past experience is. And many times it's not us, right? So the actual revenue is many times one of the last things we discuss.
Can you talk a little bit about the scope of a commercial or industrial auction? I think it might surprise some people as to how much and all that goes into conducting a successful commercial or industrial auction.
Sure, and similar to many auctions, right? You have assets, you need to find out how to get them to market. You can traditionally, right, we'd put an ad in the paper and 50 people would come to a location and we'd gather around and in real time tell them what this piece is and sell it to them. We do many of the same things at a commercial location. Only it's more efficient now to do this online. We reach a wider audience, and our audience, which many times is national or worldwide, doesn't have to travel to the location. So we front load some of the work, right? Assets need to be organized, just like you would a garage. The only problem with many commercial locations, it's not a 500 square foot garage, it's a 500,000 square foot warehouse. It's just a matter of time, right? So time and experience, and we put together teams that come into a location, set them all up. That many times can take weeks, sometimes it can take days, but it's a part of the process. Things are lined up. Items then are photographed and described in detail, each through just like you would for almost any auction you could consider. The items are marketed. Typically, 2 to 3 weeks will be a general marketing timeline for a commercial or business sale. Items are then sold, sometimes 1 day, sometimes it takes 3, 4, or 5 days to get all the items in a location sold, and then they're removed. The scope of the removal can be challenging because commercial assets can be different from a TV or a table or a lamp that you might think of purchasing at an auction, right? And we might be selling an overhead boom crane that might take logistically several days or a week to remove. Many times parts of buildings have to be disassembled in order to remove the assets and then put back in. Floors need to be leveled, bolts need to be sheared, electrical needs to be redone. We just sold a warehouse mezzanine in Missouri that the lighting for the ceiling was tied into the warehouse rack we sold. Well, we sold the warehouse rack and we're missing the lights for the ceiling. So an electrical team has to come in and actually correct some of the buildings. All of these are parts of the auction process that are detailed in the contract and detailed in the scope of work that's done by someone going on site and reviewing everything that needs to be done and what potential issues there are that we need to work through.
It's not uncommon for you to have an auction for a particular client and then see similar clients suddenly come out of the woodwork to do similar auctions. I think about Bed Bath & Beyond, for example. We saw you do one auction for them and next thing you know, here's 10 other landlords that all want. Can you talk about that trend? Why they don't start with auction and then suddenly, oh my gosh, auction's the best way to go for our solution here?
I don't know, it's a great question. I don't know if they don't know about the auction process or don't think about it. Many times our clients are landlords or building owners that may not be involved in the particular business or asset world that is in. They own these buildings, their tenants leave. Many landlords don't even touch the assets until they have a new tenant that wants the space and they needed to fix that problem, which is empty the building. And then it's whoever they can find online to solve their problem, right? I think the current marketing trends, which involve online or digital marketing, do a lot to enhance what you're doing in an area. We find that as we do a sale in New York, there will typically be an uptick in views, an uptick in phone calls, and an uptick in business in that area. So many times it's generated just from the marketing clicks that we do in a region. Conversely, it can also lend to the asset class, right? So a Bed Bath & Beyond, and somebody goes to their computer and types in, how do I sell my store fixtures? And up come, 5 or 6 names. And one of them many times can be us, and we answer the phone, right? So the trick there is to have your business out in the digital world so people can be aware of it when they search, because invariably that's where they're going to go to search. And the second one is really easy: answer your phone.
Right. I think that's all I have. You got questions, Ben? I think we're good. That's 12 minutes.